Australia has announced a significant housing policy shift. A 2-year ban on foreign nationals purchasing established, that means already built residential properties. Well, the new rule has already taken effect from April 1st, 2025 and remains in place until March 31st, 2027. The government, led by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, says that this particular move is designed to tackle one of country's most pressing issues, and that is housing affordability. As property prices soar across major Australian cities, this particular policy is being introduced ahead of the upcoming general election, and this is just to address growing voter frustration, specifically among young Australians who fear that they may never be able to own a house. Over the last decade, Australian housing prices have skyrocketed. In Sydney, for example, property value has increased by nearly 70%. Purchasing the average avenue would be cost about 1.2 million. At the very same time, rents have surged, making life very difficult for both residents and newcomers. With the cost of living crisis deepening, the housing issue has emerged as one of the top election concerns in Australia. And to cool things up and ease the pressure on domestic buyers, the government has decided to block foreigners from purchasing old and second-hand homes during 2-year window. And this is a huge setback for Indians. This particular decision will significantly impact temporary residents, including international students, skilled migrants, and foreign companies, who will no longer be allowed to buy the existing houses. However, let me tell you that foreign nationals will still be permitted to buy newly built homes. So the motive behind this is to encourage the construction of more housing stock, which in turn could help balance demand and supply. But yes, a few exceptions will remain, including certain visa category under the Pacific Worker Scheme. Additionally, the government plans to crack down on land banking by foreign investors, introducing rules that require them to develop any vacant land without a fixed time. Now, for Indians, who represent the largest group of international students and one of the top migrant community in Australia, the ban introduced new challenges. Purchasing a home in Australia is often seen as a key milestone for Indian migrants, both financially and emotionally, as it signals long-term sentiment. Many Indian students also transition into work visas and eventually become the permanent resident. But under the new policy, unless one becomes a permanent resident or a citizen, purchasing an existing home will not be allowed. Well, this restriction could limit access to affordable, well-located property and increase the burden on those hoping to invest in the stable future in Australia. So basically, to put things into perspective, foreign nationals invested nearly $4.9 billion in Australia's residential property market in the year ending June 2023. And this is according to data from Australian Taxation Office. The government hopes that by curbing these external demands, more homes will become available for Australians struggling to compete in the market. Interestingly, this move is not limited to the ruling Labour Party's agenda. The opposition has made a similar proposal earlier, signaling support for controlling foreign real estate ownership. Now, for Indian migrants, particularly students and young professionals, this policy does not shut the door to home ownership, but certainly makes the journey more complex. While buying a new home remains possible, it may come at higher cost and with fewer options, specifically for cities like Sydney or Melbourne, where demand remains really strong. It also places more emphasis on visa status, as only permanent residents or citizens will have full access to the property demand. As Australia enters an election season and its housing market undergoes regulatory changes, Indians will need to be more strategic in planning their migration and settlement goals. Understanding how property law are tied to visa category, financial planning and timing will be key to making informed decisions in this evolving environment.